I think do we have most people, Allie? Are we ready to get started or should we wait for a few minutes?
We do have most people. I think we are ready to get started. I just want to let everyone know Grace is unfortunately not going to be here today. So she is definitely going to miss you all. She is not feeling well. But Janaya is going to run the show from here. So if you guys have any questions or anything crazy happens, like you end up in the wrong small group breakout room, just send me a chat, let me know. But I am turning it over to Janaya. Janaya, take us away.
Thank you, thank you. Brent, could you share the slides, please? Perfect, thank you. So, welcome everyone to our sixth and last self-reflection. Bittersweet, but I'm glad that we have this time together to share and go over ambiguity and responding to it. There's no doubt about it that all of us have been going through an ambiguous time, even just in 2020 alone with COVID, but ambiguity is all around us, and it's good for us to take the time to chat about it so we can have these tools in our toolbox to be able to proactively respond to ambiguity in our future. Do you want to go to the next slide, Brent? Perfect. So, just some few updates. We're gonna have CLA graduation pretty soon. So get excited for that. Congrats to everyone who is going to be graduating. I'm also going to be graduating, so I'm excited for that. Um, to those who are graduating and returning, please be sure to fill out the survey. I will drop that in the chat right now. Yeah, so if you guys could take the time to do that right now or even throughout our break, I can drop that link right again so we can all fill that out. We're going to have our final wheelhouse talk with President Mantella on April 29th. And then following that will be the Zoom version of CLA graduation. So, like all wheelhouse talks, they're required and a required event in its business casual professional. So just look presentable, especially since President Mantella is going to be joining us. In the next few weeks, you'll be getting emails regarding CLA souls and diplomas. Um, so right now, I believe we're thinking about possibly giving those out. You can come to the office and grab them, or even us coming to Allendale to give some of those to you guys. You guys will get more details about that soon, so be sure to keep an eye out on your email. And then also, if you haven't, oh, you can go to the next slide, Brent, sorry. Okay, so also be sure to have at least 3 mentor journals done. Um, I understand that some of you guys it might have been hard to keep in touch or contact your mentor. So as long as you have 3 mentor journals done, that's really all that we're looking for right now. If you can accomplish 6, by all means, do it. We would love to see what you say about your mentor meetings. And also be sure to finish all the makeup assignments by the end of the semester. You have to have both your mentor journals done and your makeup assignments in order to have the digital badging, which is what we've been working on throughout this whole curriculum. Um, and then, sorry, we also sent out decisions. So I believe we have 45 new fellows that are going to be joining the Cook Leadership Academy. We're actually going to have some time later today to meet them and chat with them. So that there'll be more information on that when that time comes. And then lastly, we do have a few job positions open. So we have the assistant position, which is the position that Hava and I have. So there's a job opening for that and also a full-time position open. I believe you can check out GVSU jobs if you want more information on that. And if anyone has any questions about the student assistant position and you're interested in it, feel free to send me an email and I can talk to you about that too, since I do that currently. Um, so yeah, that was all that I had for updates. So Brett, you can stop sharing your screen. Yeah, perfect. And then before we get into the meat and potatoes of the self-reflection, I just want to let you know all know that this is going to be structured just a tad bit differently since we don't have a guest speaker. So this is going to be more discussion based. So feel free to chat and use the raise your hand feature um, in the chat function. Um, if you have something to say, I'm really excited to hear everyone's thoughts about ambiguity and all of that stuff. So, JP, if you want to take it away with responding
Sure.
to ambiguity.
Thank you, Janaya. How is everyone? Hopefully, we're all, we're in the home stretch. This is the last quarter of the semester. Let's get it done. But today we're going to talk about uh, the topic of ambiguity. Um, and I'd like to open up the floor with the following question. What does ambiguity mean to you? Feel free to unmute yourselves and jump in. So we've got the scary unknown, the unknown, lack of control maybe, associated with feeling anxious, not feeling like I know the future. Any other responses?
You said lack of control. I definitely resonate with that, but also just I get really stressed if there's like a lot of what ifs, like different options that I could see, and I don't know which one is going to be the one that actually happens.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's, not knowing creates stress and creates a lot of anxiety for us. Let's see, we've got a couple more comments here in the chat. Feeling anxious about being unsure, being out of control and unable to grasp it, inability to make the best decisions, no closure. Yeah, these are all great responses and pretty much hits the nail on the head about what ambiguity all means to us. And so now, after this brief conversation about what we think it means, I'll delve right into the actual definition, which you all pretty much got that. So it's defined as responding to an unpredictable situation by adapting one's plans and moving forward with all the information. This happens every day. What are we gonna eat? What are we gonna do today? Those small, hiccups of ambiguity happen throughout our week. This morning I was just wondering, what am I gonna have for lunch? And so we all have faced great ambiguity these last couple months. And I know everyone is tired of speaking about COVID and all the fatigue that it brings with it, but we all need to acknowledge the amount of ambiguity and the amount of possible transformation that there is embedded within that. Um, it will always be with us. Ambiguity will never cease to be a thing in our lives. So it's important to know how to deal with the unknown, the uncertain, those spooky terms. Um, so having a high tolerance for ambiguity is a very important skill that we all must master. And we at the Cook leadership decided that this was a really important topic to cover. And so it's important to reframe ambiguity as being an issue of not having enough information to make a confident decision, maybe avoiding making decisions based off of anxiety or worries or insecurities. And I want you to think about times where you encountered an uncertain situation, a fork in the road. How did that make you feel? Probably anxious, stressed, maybe even lost. So don't worry, because there is a possible way to rewire our response that we kind of practice over over weeks, months, even years, and how to respond to ambiguity. And so we can even anticipate the experience. It can be such a dramatic change that we look forward to not knowing and being comfortable with that. And so, you know, ambiguity is often used in films such as Inception or 2001: A Space Odyssey to kind of leave the viewer with a sense of ambiguity. Oh, did that top ever fall in Inception? Or so it's really a very powerful tool to kind of drive a craving for more, or just allow people to sit in discomfort. And yeah, Janai, if you have anything else to add.
No, you hit all of it. Yeah. Ambiguity sucks, pretty much. But it's really good that we're taking the time to talk about it so we can find tools to navigate ambiguity in, like I said, like a productive way, and a way that is beneficial for all of us. So now we're going to give you all a chance to hop into your small group and talk about ambiguity further. So Allie, if you want to launch those breakout rooms, we can go ahead with
You got it. If, like I said, I was doing this pretty quickly, so if you end up in the wrong breakout room, send me a chat, let me know, and I'll make sure you get to the right spot. All right, it looks like we're all coming back here. Got a couple more seconds until everyone's back, I think. All right, I think we all should be back. Janaya, do you want to walk us through our next thing here?
Yes. So now we're going to be doing a quick poll session, and it'll just have a few prompts. Be sure to answer them to the best of your ability, and like honestly, first gut reactions, just answer them. And yeah, it's just going to be different prompts kind of about how you respond to ambiguity, and like your preferred way of living, I guess.
You ready for me to launch the first one?
Yes.
Here we go.
It looks like two more people need to answer if you haven't already. So looks like so the first question, I like having a routine. 92% of you said yes, so that's 34 people, and then 3 of you said no. Very interesting. I know I personally like having a routine. You want to go to the next one, Allie? We have quite a few spontaneous people. Very jealous because I am not a spontaneous person whatsoever, and I really wish I had that quality. So very jealous of all of you. 16 of you say that you are spontaneous, and then 21 people say that they don't consider themselves to be. So it looks like most people enjoy maintaining tradition. So 26 people said yes, 12 people said no. I'm interested in seeing the results for this question because I'm sure a lot of us have this as a quality or trait that we put on our resume, whether it's true or not. Okay, so it looks like an overwhelming amount of you are adaptable. 33 people are, and 3 people say that they aren't. So far, it looks like this one is pretty mixed. So 17 of you like change, and then 20 of you don't. So that's a pretty like even split between us all. I love to chat about that once we're done with the poll session. So far, 5 of you say that consistency isn't important to you, and 30 of you say that it's very important to you. So mostly everyone, it looks like, is saying that they like to be in control. 32 people said yes, and then 2 people said no. Okay, so 32 of you say that you don't prefer having people make choices for you, and 3 of you say yes. This question I always get a little tripped up on because sometimes I want people to make a decision for me if it's like, where are we going to eat for dinner? But other times I'm like, no, 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 no. I want to be in control right now. This is our second to last question. Okay, so 25 of you say that you're positive in situations where you don't know what will happen next. 13 of you say you're not. To anyone who voted yes, I'd love to talk to you because I'm a very negative person and I could really use some of that optimism in my life, especially right now. Okay, so our last question. Looks like this one's going to be pretty evenly split too. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so 19 of you say that you do tend to panic and 18 of you say you don't. Okay, perfect. That was our last poll. So now I would love to hear, have some discussion on those. So if you guys want to add anything, I have a few questions I'm going to ask. Feel free to use the raise your hand feature or just shout it out. So if you know any of your strengths from your strength assessment, how do you believe that those tie into the responses to the polls or how you responded to the poll question?
I can start us off. One of mine was like optimist, or whatever, like positive or something like that. So while I think I am like a person who wants things to go as planned and needs to be in control, when things start going off that path, I'm like very hopeful that like it'll be okay anyway. So while I'm, kind of a control freak, I think that that is a thing that helps me balance that out.
Ashley, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I said that I don't like change in the poll, and I think that kind of goes back to my poll result of being like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, it doesn't really relate to any of them. Sorry. Okay, so the other one is that I like when something doesn't work out how I planned it, like I see it in a positive way. I don't see it in a negative way. And that goes back to my poll results, my Gallup poll results of being positive and like futuristic. So I try to see the future in a positive way, even if I don't know what it holds.
Lauren, you can go ahead.
Mine is actually kind of similar to what Sarah just said in the chat, but I was going to tie it to arranger, which is one of mine, because it talks about managing lots of variables and wanting to kind of fit all the pieces together and being flexible with change. And I'm not very flexible with change because I don't like when things don't go the way I planned. But I guess I can kind of see how I do like solving that problem and finding a definitive answer when things do go like wrong or the way I wasn't expecting them to. So it's like a weird balance. Like I hate it and I stress out, but I'm good at like eventually solving the problem, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Ryan, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'd like to agree with the last folks that spoke. I feel like one of my strengths is positivity, and I feel like if there's a situation where something goes wrong, one strength of mine is like, some people may, get stressed out or throw their hands up and say, I can't do this, and that happens to me too. But I feel like I usually am able to be reserved and be calm and just know that like freaking out and, getting upset isn't going to solve the problem. And that's when my mind kind of does like the fight or flight. And that's when I kind of focus on solving the problem and, working towards a solution in a calm manner that also kind of gives the people around me confidence. It's hard to keep up, but I try to do that.
Awesome. Thank you to everyone who shared. JP, do you want to do the next question?
Sure, I'd love to. So for those who answered that they were adaptable, how do you use this strength to your benefit? And have you always been adaptable, or is it more of an acquired skill that you learn to tame over time?
Were we supposed to use the raise your hand function?
You can just shout it out if
Okay.
you'd like.
I shared in my earlier small group. I get that question asked a lot, actually. Is it an acquired skill or is it something that you have? I think that's always like the leadership question, like, is it an innate thing or do you learn how to be a leader, right? It's the same question, but anyways. So I think it's definitely an acquired skill for me because naturally I am not a person that maybe would have done that. I don't know, but from K through 12, so I was born in South Korea, but when I was 3 months old, I left as a baby. My parents are linguists, so from K through 12, I went to 13 different schools and I was transplanted in 15 different countries. So by the time I was 18, it was a miracle I graduated on time. And so then I got my bachelor's in Korea, and then now I'm getting my master's at Grand Valley. And so when I look back, I'm definitely very good at change. I just kind of pick it up and go. So there was so that's like the long haul of just me learning how to be adaptable in all cultural contexts. But then in life context, there was an incident that happened when we initially were my husband and I were in Ohio, and then we moved to Michigan in 2018. We came in March, started my job here at Grand Valley in July. Exactly a month later, I got into a car accident on Lake Michigan Drive by 8th and Lake Michigan. Somebody hit me while they were turning left and I was going straight, so it was my right of way. So then I fractured my sternum and I was carried away in a stretcher because I blacked out. And that was in the process of me applying for grad school and still studying for my GRE. So I remember just lying in bed and I'm like, what did I do wrong? Like all I wanted to do was just live my life, but I was in bed. I couldn't even pee by myself. My husband had to like, like carry me or help me get up in a certain way. And so, and I still got on my application in and I started school the next year. So it's like these constant interruptions, right? And the next year my husband was gone. He was deployed for like 6 months because he's in the military. So it's like, it's not easy, but one of my, I think the earlier question was, how do you apply your strengths? Is I definitely have a learner's strength as one of the top priority, where I learned to just be present in the moment. I'm not saying, I don't want to oversimplify and say like, oh yeah, just, just, it's okay. Things going to be okay. No. It's real and it's hard, but this is just acknowledging that this is what you're going through right now and not having that control or finding that final, like, in a project, there's like a start to finish, but our life isn't that way. It's so messy. Like it's so full of transitions. Relationships are so weird. So it's always just being present and being okay with no closure. I think that's, so I think it can be an acquired skill, I think. So.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's definitely a journey that you've been through. So thank you again for sharing.
Yeah, Becky, if you want to go, you'll be our last person to wrap up this discussion before we head into small groups.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say this kind of goes more with like a nature and nurture type thing, because I do think some people are like naturally just gifted at like being okay and able to go with the flow and with ambiguity. But like I think you can also really develop it like when you're thrown into those situations like constantly. Like my example is like really old, but like in high school I played basketball, but I was like in between height, so I wasn't like super tall, but I was a lot taller than like the shorter guards. And so it was like my job to survey both teams and decide what position I was going to be playing. And so like every single time I'd have to like recalculate it, and even though this play was being called, I'd have to know I'm actually this. So this is like super old, but like so sports made me very like have to be quick on my feet and open to change because something new is happening. Which I think just like then helped me in life because it's like we were always trying to do that.
Awesome, thank you for sharing. Okay, so now we're gonna head into our second small group to chat more about ambiguity and how we respond to it.
And I just want to let everyone know too, coming out of this small group, we're actually just going to head right into a break as well. So whenever the discussion just kind of naturally comes to a good spot where it's a good time for you to take a break, we're going to do those in small group before we come to large group, around 2:10 or so. If you guys want to make sure you take that break, get up, stretch your legs, fill up your water, whatever you need. Definitely start a break at 2:10, 2:20, we'll bring it back to large group to kind of regroup. But again, whenever your conversation just kind of leads you naturally into the break, feel free to take it. Regardless, we will come back here at 2:20. So into your breakout rooms. Janaya, JP?
Sure. So we're all curious if you could all share what your groups talked about in regards to that second small group. So if anybody wants to kick us off. Again, feel free to jump in.
Ashley, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so for the second discussion question, a lot of people in our group actually kind of flipped it on its head. So instead of thinking about a time when the way we responded to an ambiguous situation could have gone better, we actually pointed out that in general, things turned out for the better. even though we might have been a little nervous to see how it would have turned out. So that's just something that we all acknowledged.
Lauren, you can go.
My group, over the past like 2 small groups that we had, have talked a lot about just like different types of ambiguity, and how like looking back, like for a couple of things that we talked about, it was like ambiguity that we had to deal with like as children maybe, so we can't necessarily judge how we reacted, because when you're a child you don't have the coping mechanisms that you need to deal with stuff like that sometimes. And just how there's a lot of things in life where it's like there's some ambiguity that's super important, because sometimes you have to take life seriously and there's things you need to figure out, and other times there's ambiguity that you really can just let go of, and you'll be a lot less stressed if you're able to kind of sort what matters and what doesn't, and then just kind of work on letting it go, which is a lot easier said than done, but yeah.
And it was something that my small group and I kind of came to the conclusion is like how big of a deal we make things when we're in the thick of ambiguity. So our worldview suddenly grows really, really small because we narrow in on whatever we have to adjust to. And something that I mentioned that was really helpful for me is, or something that I wish I would do better is remembering that like the world is still turning, the world is still so big. And even though I'm having a rough time, someone could be having the best day of their life. And that's really comforting for me sometimes, knowing that, when I'm in the thick of things really aren't as big as they seem. So I was reflecting on things that might have been a big deal to me in middle school. So like wanting to be popular and having a big group of friends. Now that I'm 21, that literally doesn't matter at all. Or even going to a new school, wondering if I'm going to make friends. Again, that might have been the biggest thing going on in my life at that time. But now that I'm out of it, I can reflect and remember that that really wasn't that big of a deal. I turned out fine. Um, so yeah, I think just being able to reflect and know that um, not everything has to be a big deal if you don't give it the power to be such a big deal to like dictate your feelings.
Yeah, our group had a brief discussion about um, college and the whole college process and how that invokes a lot of stress and anxiety for a lot of us, because we seriously want to get into a good school. You've got your top schools, but some environments are more, they produce a lot more ego, because if you go to a more academically inclined school, that's kind of the only identity that you can assume. And so that was my experience, and some experiences from my group members also mentioned that they were either on the opposite end of that, where they saw a lot of people who were on that boat, but now thinking about how that whole process was so ambiguous, I think the path that we chose was the most optimal, because we're all here sitting speaking about how we can improve our skills, how we can again have a high tolerance for ambiguity. And I think it just worked out just fine. And like Janaya said, we blow up things way bigger than they need to be. So
I think one thing our group talked a lot about was the different Clifton strengths and their relationship to ambiguity, and how the different strengths that we might have might be related to cutting through ambiguity, even in some unconventional ways. And the one that I shared actually was one of my strengths is restorative, and that it's not necessarily that it's just about like self-restoration or like restoration of like conflict resolution and things like that, but that restoration can also be about cutting through ambiguity and making sure that like the institution as a whole, whatever that may be, is restored through restoration, basically. Like, so you're using conflict resolution, you're using communication skills to help bring everyone in the situation to be at peace.
Rachel, you can go ahead.
One of the things that I mentioned is that sometimes in ambiguous situations where there are like 2 or 3 outcomes, I find it really easy to like in my positivity that I like almost kind of hope that one's going to happen over others, that I cling on to that. And I need to kind of stop doing that so much because I cling to the point that when it's still an ambiguous situation, but when this one doesn't occur, and I knew that there was a chance that it wouldn't occur, but I still have that like major like change in mood where I'm upset about it, even though the whole time I knew that it was possible that it wasn't going to happen. So I guess just like in being positive, I get my hopes up a little bit too high sometimes.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I, like you, also get my hopes up a lot. But in the inverse, it always is good to look forward to something. So that's still a really good trait to have. Was there anyone else who wanted to share really quick before we head into a small group to discuss a case study? No? Okay. So now we're going to go into our small group, and we're going to be going over a case study where an ambiguous situation is going to be at hand. So I can drop the link real quick so you all can read over it. And then you're going to read it and then discuss it in your small group.
And if you guys need that link again, your leads have it as well. So try to grab it out of there, but if you can't, it's okay. You will be able to find it. Welcome back from small group, everybody. Janaya, take us away.
Yes, I'm actually going to defer to JP for our last question.
Awesome.
Sure. So this will be our large group wrap up. And the question is, so during the times of uncertainty, how are you going to make peace with ambiguity? And I pose that question to everyone. Feel free to pitch in.
I'll go ahead and start. So throughout the last couple of years, especially focusing in during the pandemic, I've had to come to terms with the role that faith and trust plays in my life. Faith in myself, not faith in a religious sense, but faith in the sense that I know that I will be able to overcome because I have already overcome all of my worst days so far. I have already reached the peak of every mountain I've ever had to climb, and I've made it to this point. And so whatever comes next, I just have to trust that I have the skills and I have the capability and the drive to overcome.
Thank you. That reminds me of a podcast that I was listening to on Stoicism. And I don't know what Stoic said this, but similar to what you said, the challenges that you faced from ambiguity, you've already, you came prepared with the tools. So don't be afraid of doing that again in the future, because be sure that you will have the right tools to, handle those situations. So I'm glad that you were able to recognize that too.
Cameron, you can go ahead.
I think for me, having the ability to recognize through ambiguity that there's going to be times in life where you fail, and you're going to fail a lot, and you're going to fail often, and you're going to fail numerous times throughout your life. But you can't look at failure as like an endpoint. You just have to look at each instance of failure as a learning experience. It doesn't matter if you fail 50 times. On that 51st try, you're going to get it. And that's how we learn and how we grow. You just have to have that growth mindset, is kind of what we were talking about in our small groups, where no matter what happens, it doesn't matter if it's a block in the road. It's about the end point. You know, it doesn't matter how many times you fail. It's about the one time that you actually got there and the learning experience that you got along the way.
So it looks like we've got a comment in from Ryan. Today, I've grown to appreciate that ambiguity is a part of life and that one's journey is never a straight line, but a jagged line with imperfections. We're not alone, and it is not our fault, and it's okay to be confused. So yeah, that I second that. That's very beautiful writing right there. But again, ambiguity is just, it will always be with us. So high tolerance is what we need to achieve.
Chloe, then Nicole, you can go.
So in my group, it was actually Elliot who brought it up, and he was saying how ambiguity is almost like fiction. So it's like going forth from that point. I'm sorry, Elliot, I'm totally quoting you. Going forth from that point, you don't know anything that's going to happen next. And so it's almost like you're just writing your own fictional story. But the fictional story is just like your constant in life, which really gave me a new perspective on how to look at ambiguity. And it's just really interesting to look at it in that way.
I think one of the big takeaways that I've had from today is ambiguity. One of the strongest things that I think I can do for myself, and I'm sure it applies to other people as well, is leaning on others, those relationships and those people that you have in your life that can help you through it. It's kind of short and sweet, but it really is important to lean on your strengths and lean on that communication that you have with other people and those people in your life that can help you out. So.
I think a big thing that also helps me or like brings me peace with ambiguous situations is I'm someone who believes that like everything happens for a reason, which really sucks because I like sometimes there's some things that happen where I'm like, I really wish that didn't happen and I really don't see the reason for why it happened. Um, but even just trying to be a little positive in like ambiguous situations where it's like, okay, I'm going through this, but you know, this will be a really good story to tell in an interview, or one day someone could be going through the same thing and I can offer advice because I've gone through something similar. So being able to kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, even if it is for something small like an interview question, I think that's something that helps bring me peace a little bit.
One of the things that I really found useful, especially with the pandemic, was that, and someone else mentioned this in my group, but we, at the beginning, we were all sort of, we didn't know what was going on. And that actually created pockets of community where we were able to build those and fortify and reinforce those relationships. And now I'm closer with my family than I've ever been in my life, and closer to some of my very close friends. You know, that also goes along with like distancing myself from others, but in the long run, like finding those pockets of community and big ambiguous situations can really go a long way. More knowledge is the best outcome, I believe. So yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I came a little late because of class, so I didn't get all of the first kind of thinking part. But something I'm realizing is like my first reaction is just panic, and I can't really do anything when I'm panicking. And so like everyone's been talking about relying on those relationships and community to get me to a place where I can then lean on my strengths, which are like learning and taking in information and then doing something with that information. And so kind of like recognizing that's my first reaction, but then what can I do to calm myself and to find the best way out of it in that moment?
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
I guess I can spitball another question out to you. I know with ambiguity, most of the times comes a lot of anxiety. So do any of you guys have any techniques that you usually use to kind of ground yourself when you're feeling anxious about the unknown?
I like talk to friends and people I trust for advice on the situation to get some perspective.
Yeah, I'd like to agree with Ashley. I always find myself leaning on friends and family, when I'm in times of ambiguity, especially if those people are likely to have been in similar situations before. So, say I'm, applying for a job or trying to figure out how to be an adult. I may rely on my parents. Or say it's a relationship. I may talk to my friends about it. I feel like relying on your networks always important in times of ambiguity or just despair, for lack of a better word.
Um, I we talked about this in my group, but I have started just sitting in complete silence and telling myself like, what do I really need right now? And if I'm like looking for a distraction or something, I'll just be like, no, no more noise. Just ask yourself what you really need, which is really helpful.
For me, I'm kind of more of a like idea-based person. And so I think a lot of the times when I'm dealing with ambiguity, I really like to like turn more inwards and remind myself of like what are my base morals that I want to make sure I'm sticking with, or what things are really important to me right now that even with all of these things I'm uncertain of, what can I make sure I really follow through with and let that kind of that base of myself lead me through these situations, in addition to, talking with others to kind of work through a situation. I feel like that kind of turning inwards towards my moral compass, I guess, helps me navigate a little bit.
I often have to minimize situations, which I recognize is not always helpful for people because sometimes it's not good to be minimizing your feelings. But for me, that's super helpful because I will walk through issues that I have, and I'll get so worked up about them. And then, I talked about this in my group. There was this graphic that I used to have saved on like my iPod Touch because, everything's inspirational when you're 14. But it basically said that like if you're in a situation, you have to ask yourself, can I do something about this? And if you can, then you don't have to stress. And if you can't, then you have no reason to stress because you can't stress about things you can't control. And if you can control it, then there's your solution, which again, I know that's so simple and I don't want to minimize the way that that definitely does not always work because life is scary and complicated. But a lot of times when I was dealing with more difficult things than I was dealing with when I was 14. And I would take that same question to therapy. A lot of times that's what she would say is like, okay, like let's walk through this. And by the time I left, I realized that whatever I was freaking out about was not nearly as big of a deal as I thought. And if I just sat down and mapped it out, I really had a decent plan of how to attack it. So for me, that's how I have to go about things sometimes.
Yeah, I think the hardest part for me about ambiguity is not feeling power in a situation because having options and independence is like really, really important to me. And so I'll give myself the right to like take power in some other situation because I'm very like, I live my life by an outline basically. So I'm like, okay, I don't have power in this situation, but if I go for a hike in a park I like right now, I will feel better because I'm grounding myself not only in space and silence, but also taking a little bit of power back from myself.
I think another thing that we should consider when we talk about uncertainty is that a lot of the emotions that get stirred up through the uncertain situations are inherently physiological. And because emotions are reflexes that our mind have created for certain situations, we have to be able to recognize the physiological symptoms that we go through, whether that be like cold sweats or your heart's racing. And you have to be able to simply pay attention and slow down. Because once you recognize that these emotions are just reflexes, and that once the physiological symptoms go away, it's a lot easier to think rationally and to think long term about solutions to the ambiguity.
Yeah, that's really important, Cameron. Yeah, we have one more minute left, and I think it's really good to wrap up the culmination, or like if you need help, ask for it. Like JP just said, like having that self-awareness to know like I can't handle all of this by myself. I need to just talk to someone. Even if you're not seeking for advice, you just need to vent. Do so. If you want to seek out therapy, do so. I think everyone should try out therapy at least once, because it's really, really beneficial. But yeah, just navigating ambiguous situations, knowing that one, you're not the only one going through it. And if you talk it out, you can most definitely find community in those situations, because a lot of people most likely going through the same things you're going through, they're just not talking about it openly. But thank you all so much for sharing and being so open and vulnerable during our self-reflection. It's our last one, which I'm really sad about, but I'm really proud of all of the learning that we've accomplished. You all are so smart and so wise, and you have a good noggin on your shoulders. So be proud of yourself, give yourself a pat on the back. And yeah, I think in maybe like a minute or two, we're going to be welcoming in the new cohort. So yeah, it's been a pleasure, and I believe Nicole, you are going to welcome in the new cohort, correct?
Yeah, yep, I can do that.
Okay, perfect.
And just really quick, I know Grace couldn't be here today, but I know Grace would echo everything that Janaya said. So she says it all the time around the office, and I think that's worth mentioning, because I know she could be here for the last self-reflection with you all today, but I know she's really enjoyed having the chance to learn with and from you guys this year. So like Janaya said, we're going to welcome in the new cohort here in a minute. Nicole, if once we welcome them in, maybe if you just want to facilitate just some introductions, I think maybe we should start by introducing the leads for next year. So Nicole, if you could help facilitate that, but leads for next year, if you guys would be willing to introduce yourself so that they can see the faces that they'll be working with next year. Maybe start with that, and then maybe we can just have a couple people just really briefly share a little bit about the CLA and some of your guys' favorite things from this last year. Anybody who would be willing to do that. So I will let them all in now.
Congratulations, guys. It was a great year. You guys were flexible, lead fellows. I can't thank you enough, just as Allie said. Grace would say the same thing. Really proud of each and every one of you, just for your adaptability and flexibility as we navigated all the challenges that we've had to go through this year. Job well done.
And now we have some new faces with us. So hi, everybody. Welcome to everybody who's new. I just want to start really quick by saying you may not recognize me. Grace Hummel was unfortunately not able to be here today. She's feeling under the weather. So you may be seeing some faces that you were not expecting. But my name's Allie. I work at the Hauenstein Center. Brent, if you want to wave as well. Our acting director is here as well. In Grace's absence. So we're really excited to be here with you today. And I'm going to toss it over to Nicole, who's going to just get us started with some introductions for the lead fellows next year.
Sure. Hi, guys. My name is Nicole. I'm one of the lead fellows this year. Just wanted to extend my congratulations to all of you. The Cook Leadership Academy is an amazing program. I know I probably can only speak for myself, but probably for everybody else as well. We learn so much in this program, and you truly do grow as a student, as a leader. So we're really excited to kick this year off with you guys. I'd like to start by having all of our lead fellows for next year introduce themselves. I know Chris Marco is in my group and will be a lead fellow this year if you wanted to kick us off, and then we'll kind of bounce to the next people if you just want to start sharing from there.
Yeah, sure. Hey guys. First, I'm Chris Marco. Congrats on joining us. I'm so excited to get to know you guys in the coming year. This is my first year in the Cook Leadership Academy, and I'll be a leader for next year. Just a little bit about me. I'm currently a junior. I'm a political science major and a history minor from Hudsonville, so I'm a local guy. I love golf and skiing, so ask me about that, and I probably won't shut up. I'll keep going about it. My leadership philosophy is all about servant leadership, so you'll hear me preach that a lot next year. And I'm just really excited for you guys to kind of start your leadership journeys with us here. As always, just reach out to me if you have any questions, and I'm sure we'll all be really happy to help you out. And I'm gonna pick on Cameron Jowers to introduce himself next.
Well, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Cameron Jowers. I am a first year fellow in CLA this year. It'll be my first year as a lead next year. I'm a graduate student currently. I'm studying public administration with an emphasis in local and regional governance. I also, like Chris, I'm a person that comes from servitude when it comes to leadership. So I'd like to be a public servant one day. CLA has been a great program in the last year. I've met some great people, and my mentor relationship has been fantastic. And it's one of the better experiences that I've had at Grand Valley. So welcome.
I can go next. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the CLA cohort. It's amazing to have you all here. My name is JP Palacios. I am a computer engineering major. And so my experience at CLA, it's my second year here, first year as a lead fellow, and I will be continuing that route for next year. This program is very, very beneficial. I came in sort of wanting to revamp my identity and wanting to really be strong in my foundation. And so this program has been everything and more. It has opportunities for you to grow in your professional competencies, but also your personal skills, and recognizing where you need to kind of put more attention to. Along with that, it has a very strong mentorship program where you will be paired up with someone maybe relating to your major or your preferred industry. So my mentor, he's amazing. We chat about everything. He's a very great friend of mine, and just another potential connection that we can both help each other out in times of need. And yeah, if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm always available. I never sleep being an engineer, so I'm always up for questions. So yeah, thank you.
I could go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Sam Johnson. There's two of us, actually, two Sam. So I'm Sam Johnson. I am currently a junior, so I'll be a senior next year. I'm studying public and nonprofit administration and business management. And this past year has been my first year in the Cook Leadership Academy. So next year will be my first year as a lead fellow. This program has been so great for me. I joined thinking that I would grow as a leader and probably get some good experience for my resume. But honestly, I totally underestimated the relationship building and like personal growth aspects of it. And so that has been so pleasantly surprising. And I hope you all get to experience that. I've loved getting to know my mentor. I'm going to be working with her in an internship this summer. So I know the opportunities are just really there. And I hope you all are able to take advantage of them. And I congratulate you. And I'm looking forward to getting to know you all over the next year. So thanks.
No, hi, if we're just hopping in, I'm Jada Petrowski. This is my first year as a fellow. I'm a classical languages major. I have my emphasis in Latin, but Greek is okay. And if I were to hypothetically, have a theory of leadership, it would probably be focused around listening, because I think listening is overlooked because it's not very sexy, but it's important. And
In Sam Jacobs, where are you at? I
Yeah.
see you here on my grid somewhere. I'm going to have you introduce yourself really quick.
I'm sorry, my
No,
AirPods
no, you're fine.
literally just ran out right and cut off, so I didn't catch everything. So I apologize for that. So hi everybody. my name's Sam. I'm going to be another one of the lead fellows. I'm a junior studying public administration. So like redundant, I know a lot of people study that, but I really enjoyed being part of this program, and I can't put it better than how my other fellow lead fellows have said it. It's just this program is very beneficial for growing both personally and professionally, and it is really helped define my college experience. And I think it's going to give me, and I hope everybody else that has been part of this program, a better look on life and leadership and like skills to use throughout your entire life. So yeah. And then also I will actually be working as a student assistant in the office next year as well. So I will, Janaya and Havila I will be one of those guys. So.
And I know we are missing Trey and Hannah, who both are unable to be there. Are we missing any of next year's leads that want to jump out really quick? Yes, no? Okay, well, I think we are going to, I want to have some time for everyone to get to know everybody. So we're going to do some quick things here where we're just going to do some fun icebreakers for the next 35 minutes or so. So you guys can all have a chance to just talk to each other, get to know each other a little more casually. So we're just going to do some breakout rooms of different sizes, might be in partners, might be in groups. Havila is going to walk us through some questions and do that for us. And one other thing that I wanted to mention to the new cohort on the way in, one thing that we always do is we include our pronouns in our with our names on our Zoom so that we are addressing each other appropriately. So if you guys would just take a second, add your pronouns to your name. If you want to do that, that would be great. If you don't know how to do that, you can send me a chat and I can walk you through it as well. But before I toss it over to Havila, just wanted to make that note. And Havila, do you just want to get us started with a couple just fun questions that we can talk to each other about? And I will say we're going to randomize these rooms. So you students who are in the cohort now, this past year, you might end up with some familiar faces that's going to be totally random. So we might have 2 new students together. We might have 2 old, it's just going to be random. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm going to toss it over to Havila to get us started with the first question, and we'll get breakout rooms going.
All right, so I have a very long list of very fun random questions, and I chose a few of them. So the first one is going to be describe one of the best days of your life, and I'll stick that in the chat. Whatever that means to you, you don't have to take it too seriously, but something fun to start off with.
Brent, I'm sorry, everyone wave goodbye to Brent. I'm going to boot our acting director, Brent, now so that he doesn't end up in one of the groups with you guys, though I'm sure you would all love to get to know Brent as well. I'd rather have you guys have a chance to talk to each other. So bye, Brent. Have a good weekend. Okay, now we're gonna randomly open these up for you guys now that he is gone. And all right, if you guys have any issues, feel free to send me a chat and let me know. And I think everybody should be good. All right, welcome back, everybody. I think we all should be back now. I hope that was just a fun little time for you to get to know people in the current cohort, new cohort, incoming cohort. Hope that just gave you a chance to feel like you had an opportunity to meet some of the community before we leave for the summer here. So first and foremost, I would like to thank Janai and JP for working so hard on today's self-reflection. Big claps to you guys, especially not having Grace here. Janai and I have been joking today that truly today was a responding to ambiguity in practice day, very much so. So thank you all, the leads too. Havila, obviously definitely can't do without you guys. So huge thank you to all of you. I know Grace really wishes she could have been here today. To our those in our cohort who are graduating, we're really looking forward to being able to celebrate you guys in the next couple weeks with our graduation. Thank you guys for all that you've done this year, showing up in such a great way every single time. I know we all feel honored to have been able to learn with you and from you this year. And I know Grace wishes, she could be here to say the same. And then to our incoming cohort next year, we're really excited to get started. So you'll see some more information from us over the summer. Obviously, we're not exactly sure what fall will look like, but we are really excited that we've been able to adapt this virtually. So we will see whether we get to see everyone's faces in person or whether we're doing this thing virtually again. So just stay tuned for more information from us as things continue to change. I'll be here for the next little bit if anyone has any questions, but just can't thank you all enough. So I hope you guys all have a great weekend, and let us know if you need anything from us in the meantime.